A land once roamed by ancient tribes, a community named after a storm, and a prehistoric lake which is now a suburb of two of our state's largest cities. I'm Wayne Worth and you're watching On the Road in West Virginia, our 55 counties, Putnam County. Long before suburbs and even prehistoric Native Americans, much of what is today the Teays Valley was the Teays River, which meandered 6 states before flowing into the mighty Mississippi. Of course, that was until the last ice age 2 million years ago, which came as far south as Chillicothe, Ohio, damming the river and creating a lake which would ultimately stretch all the way to what is today Hawks Nest in Fayette County. After 10,000 years of Putnam County being lakefront property, the ice finally retreated north and both the lake and river were no more. What followed were the first humans to roam the earth, and as early as 4000 BC they were making their way into what is today the town of Buffalo. The early natives would also leave their mark on Putnam County throughout 4 different time periods stretching around 5,600 years. Of course, things would get rather interesting during the mid to late 1700s as an increase in permanent white settlements in what was then Western Virginia, and Lord Dunmore's War, which we learn more about in the Mason County segment, would cause a lot of unrest between the natives and white settlers and a whole lot of bloodshed. Now, the 19th century would bring a lot of changes to Putnam County as old Indian trails would evolve into major turnpikes, and the county's very first town, Buffalo, would become a thriving farming community. Buffalo would also thrive due to its position along the Kanawha River. Matter of fact, throughout the 1830s and 1840s, it was deemed as the largest town along the mighty Kanawha between Point Pleasant and Charleston, and in 1849 even had its own academy offering students a liberal arts education. Also in 1849, the town of Winfield was established as the county seat of the newly formed Putnam County, which by the way became official in 1848. Now, the 1830s would bring the completion of the James River and Kanawha Turnpike, which was formerly known as the Midland Trail. The new turnpike provided a major east-west route between Lewisburg and Greenbrier County and Canova and Wayne County, while run right straight through the center of the Teays Valley. The Civil War would bring a lot of action to Putnam County as both the Kanawha and Ohio rivers will play a very strategic role in the region. And when I say a lot of action, I don't mean your Gettysburg-style battles, but mainly small skirmishes and border raids. Now, Putnam County would host a few small battles, with the more notable one being the Battle of Scary Creek, which resulted in a Confederate victory. As for other engagements, the Battle of Hurricane Creek was a Union victory as they held their fortification after being fired upon for 6 hours by Confederate raiders. And then there was the Battle of Winfield, where the Confederate forces entrenched themselves and would fire upon Union troops who were bringing supplies down the mighty Ohio and Kanawha rivers to Charleston, which served as one of their major distribution points. Just like much of the 19th century, the years following the Civil War and throughout the 20th century, the county would see major shifts economically as significant infrastructure improvements in transportation would catapult Putnam County as one of the fastest growing counties in our state. Before interstate highways were even a thought, we have to go back to the 1870s and the coming of the C&O Railroad to Putnam County. Initially named Hurricane Creek after a group of surveyors in 1774 saw large trees laid down by a bad storm, the coming of the railroad during the late 1800s would be the beginning of growth and prosperity for the town. By 1888, the town of Hurricane would become official, and the rest is history as railroads, turnpikes, and yes, the completion of Interstate 64 during the 1970s would both make Putnam County one of our state's fastest growing counties and transform the Teays Valley into a bedroom community for Huntington and Charleston. As for the Poca area, the late 1800s also brought the dawn of the coal industry, as coal was used both commercially and for personal use as families dug coal out of small punch mines to heat their homes. Now, down the road a piece is the city of Nitro, which by the way was named after an active ingredient in gunpowder called nitrocellulose. As if the naming of the town wasn't interesting enough, Nitro's beginning was nothing less than incredible, as it was built mainly to manufacture munitions to support the war effort during the First World War. What was even more amazing is that the town and all of its gunpowder facilities were built in 11 months with over 100,000 workers. However, the boom busted as the war ended in 1919 and the Army sold all the ammunition plants. In the years that followed, Nitro would survive and thrive as the Kanawha Valley would become a national hub for the chemical industry. As for the once thriving 19th century farming community of Buffalo, the 1990s would bring a completely different economic landscape to both the northern end of the county and the region. This would come courtesy of Toyota, as they would build a $400 million engine and transmission plant here in Buffalo. To put this into perspective, the plant employs around 1,000 people and produces over 500,000 engines and 300,000 transmissions per year. Which brings us right here to Eleanor, a New Deal community established during the Great Depression, because even when times are tough, Putnam County has always found a way to thrive. I'm Wayne Worth, and until next time, always remember, what we value and hold important to our lives today came from events that happened yesterday, and it's when we begin to understand the events of yesterday that we fully embrace today, which makes tomorrow become less of a mystery. The Civil War would bring a lot of action to Putnam County, as both the Kanawha and the Ohio rivers will play a